4:31 according to my clock. So we'll get started and hopefully get everybody back to what they were doing here shortly. I want to say thank you all for being here. I know these are unusual circumstances. Appreciate Bert and Peter for helping us with the technology, and John, thank you. We're going to go ahead and do a roll call. You'll bear with me. All right, we'll start at the top here. Louise McClelland. Jesse McDaniels, present. Teresa Tessner.
Here.
Evan Cox, we just heard from. You here? Okay. William Rooks.
I am here.
Okay. And Mr. Plochet. Terry
Here.
Plochet, yeah. All right. So first we need to have a motion to adopt the agenda. Anyone would like to?
I'll motion that.
I will second. This is William.
Okay. And we have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. And we want the record to reflect that this agenda is essential to performing the essential functions of the Tree Commission. Is there any discussion about that? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All right, so the motion passes and our agenda is adopted. We'll move right along to our first item of business. Y'all forgive me, I'm having to scroll back and forth between. We have approval of the minutes. So it looks like we've got 3 sets of minutes, September 2019, November 2019, and January of 2020. These were sent to us several weeks ago. We've had these for a while. I trust that you've had an opportunity to review those.
Mm.
And if someone would, I would like to invite someone to make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion on those?
Who was the second?
Terry.
Okay.
I just want to make the comment again that I really appreciate the effort that's put into these minutes and getting them caught up. So significant improvement this year on those, and it's much appreciated.
Thank you, William, and you're exactly right. We are grateful for that. So thank you again. I'd like to second that comment. All right, any further discussion on the minutes? All right, all those in favor of approval of the minutes, please let it be known by the sign of aye.
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 All those opposed say no. All right, the ayes have it. We have approved our minutes. And I'd like to see if we have a treasurer's report today.
We do. The beginning balance, this goes back to January of 2020, was $32,394.07. We have an income of a donation of equivalent of 7 trees for $1,400. That was from, and I apologize about this name, Mingeldorfs at 5522 Commerce Boulevard. That brings the ending balance on March 31st of $33,794.07.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Rooks. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Motion to approve, Terry.
I'll second it.
Approve, Terry.
Evan.
All right. Evan seconded the motion. So we have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. Any discussion? All those in favor, please let it known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right, treasurer's report's been approved. Now we'll move right along to our permit requests. We have one permit request that was held over from our meeting last month, which was unfortunately canceled due to the circumstances that we're in these days. But I'm glad that we can address this today. And I'm going to allow a representative from the 22nd State Bank to please explain the permit requests.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good.
Good. Just want to make sure this is working. So we're in process of completing a complete renovation on our building here in downtown, right on the corner of St. Joseph and St. Francis. And part of that renovation is to add an approved balcony to the building. Our contractors, John Whitespunner, was looking at where we're putting the balcony and where this tree and the height of the tree, where it relates. And so the tree, in order to install the balcony, the tree is creating a problem for us to do so. Hence our application to be able to remove this tree and turn that planter into a planter like we've seen elsewhere in downtown Mobile. So that's really it, and how we got here and why we're in front of you guys today.
All right, thank you there, Mr. Anderdahl. All right, tree commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant?
When you say a planter like the rest of downtown Mobile, is that the one that has just annuals in it?
Well, and that's a good question because there's a number of different planters in downtown, some with shrubs, some with trees, and to your point, some with just annuals. I think we'd look for guidance on that. We're not opposed to what we put there. What we would hate to do is put another tree there that then does the same thing, that would grow too tall. Whatever it is, we want it to look nice. We want it to be like a lot of the ones we've seen downtown that have been redone. At this point, we don't have concrete plans. I have talked to the group at the Downtown Alliance that does a lot of maintenance on some of these and some of the planning to try to get ideas, but we would definitely take recommendations from you guys on what you'd like to see.
Does the balcony project from the building over where the tree is now or just close to it?
It will project over. The balcony has not been installed yet because of the tree.
Well, if I might, I drove by there this weekend and there's a lamp post and some other things. So it seems like the lamp post and maybe even something for parking, a meter for parking is kind of along the edge there of the sidewalk. So I don't think you can go all the way to the curb. So it seems like the tree is in line with those entities. And there's a lot of other places along Dauphin Street where you have balconies and trees coexisting.
Well, in this case, let me point out the balcony that's proposed is going to be on the west portion of the building. So it's not going to impact the street light at all. It'll be further west than the street light.
It's going to be on St. Francis, right?
It's on St. Francis. The building portion on St. Francis is divided up into two segments by wide masonry piece. And the balcony is only going to be installed on the western side of that large masonry division.
So it's not on St. Francis, it's on the west side?
No, it is on St. Francis, but let me see if I can share my screen here. If you hold on a moment.
So you're saying it's not going to go over the entire front, just on the western portion of that?
That's correct. It's just going to be on that corner where the tree is located and that piece of art gets installed there. That perfect picture.
So It'll only be in this portion of the building where the balcony will be installed.
Oh, so it's on St. Francis, but just on the western section of that building.
That's correct.
Okay.
So Terry, in other words, a replacement tree would need to be growth potential of, what would you say, Bert, 15 foot or less?
Probably even less than that, because the balcony structure will come down as far as this. So you're looking at maybe 8 feet at the most.
So Bert, you think something like a Zelkova or something like that would work?
It'd be too big.
All right.
I don't
well,
think a
let's-
tree should go in there if it only has 8 feet.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
All right. No, that's great, Terry. Thank you for the question, because I was kind of wondering the same, you know. It looks like it's not going to interfere with the traffic. I mean, sorry, with the street lamps, if that's the case. And we have the, you know, staff report that I'm sure we've all had an opportunity to look at. Do any other tree commissioners have any questions regarding the application?
I can see taking it out with the balcony getting that close, but I don't think another tree should go in there. It'd just have to be further problems down the road.
Well, Terry, we can talk about that. I just want to make sure we don't have any more questions for the applicant.
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Not specifically on the tree itself, no.
okay. Teresa, any questions?
No.
Okay, all right, so thank you, Mr. Arundel, for, you know, bringing your application, and Peter and Bert for your input. So to the tree commissioners, we have, you know, got to take an action here. So would anyone like to make a motion to approve this, or to, you know, what is your pleasure?
Is the application just to take the tree out, or take the tree out and add something back?
Well, the application is to remove the tree. Of course, we, in our bylaws and our rules and so forth, have, you know, the tree bank, and we can require a donation to the tree bank. And in lieu of replacing those trees, I think the applicant has said that he was willing to do certain things. One of was to sponsor up to a certain amount of beautification projects in downtown, which is essentially, you know, what the tree bank is supposed to be, is using those funds to plant trees in another place. So we could approve the application and require a donation to the tree bank so that we could plant trees elsewhere. And you have the recommendation here from the city. So
Well, I can make a motion to take out the tree. I don't know what the city of the Downtown Alliance has had any ideas about how many trees or whatever. They might have to decide that.
sure. Well, we could, you know, we could require them to just perform the work in the right of way in coordination with urban forestry.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll make that motion to take out the tree, and whatever remedial work after that would be with combined with the help of urban forestry, whatever the wordage is.
And what about the tree
William.
bank?
Well, that would be part of it, wouldn't it? The other side.
Well, if you're going to make your motion, let's just make it clear. What,
Peter, has the city or the tree bank of the downtown decided how many trees? Is it 1 to 1 or 2 to 1 or what?
You mean to replace?
To donate to the bank, yeah. Tree bank, not this bank.
I tell you what, Terry, let me read, Peter, if I can just read the staff.
Sure.
recommendation. Number one, replacement trees in size to be approved by the urban forester, or donation of 2 trees to the tree bank for a total of $400.
Okay.
Number 2, tree removal permit be issued to a certified arborist who is licensed and bonded to do the work in the city of Mobile. And number 3, all work in the right of way, including tree removal and tree replanting, to be coordinated with urban forestry and the permitting / right of way division. So that was the recommendation. We would just need to be clear on whether or not we were asking them to replace the trees themselves or asking for a donation to the tree bank. So are you making the motion now?
I mean, it seems like that would either way, probably be better with the tree banks. This is not gonna be a replacement tree in there. Make a motion to accept or to approve the recommendation of the staff with the donation of 2 trees to the tree bank.
I would second that motion. This is Will.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that?
And there's no way that you can have a tree go into a spot nearby that would be compatible with the balcony. But I
The
saw.
thing is, I don't know what the rest of the trees are. I guess it's bird, is that those red maples on St. Francis there?
It's certainly a maple of some sort.
To have the street that has maples, however many are in that section there, and then have something different right there. It's gonna be a tooth missing on your smile. To me, it'd be better just to not do it.
Well, except that the maples are going to be coming out eventually all along through there, and we've already replaced some maples in other places. And I guess I just hate to lose a tree completely from the spot, if there's a way, if we could put a different species in there that would work in the spot.
I don't know if we need at this point to name that species. You could always come back if they change the maples and put something in. It'd have to be something very columnar, something that's tall and thin, and no taller than 8 foot. But it seems like the branching would start to interfere with the pedestrian traffic there if it's a small tree or a shrub or something like that.
We did receive one online comment for this application: is what will be required of the applicant regarding the hole in the sidewalk? Will it be filled in with matching concrete and the tree grate returned to the city?
You can't leave the grate and fill it with gravel or something for people to walk across it and later.
You may be able to do that, but that was the question.
I mean, again, you're starting to do a patch here and there, and it's going to eventually look bad.
I think our intent would be to have a planter. If it was recommended to us that it needs to be filled in so that it can match when we needed to replace the concrete, we would do that as well. We want to be a good neighbor through this and make sure it's something that makes sense for downtown.
So much has been spent, time and money on getting this unified look downtown. I hate to start taking things out and putting different materials and everything else in there, but I'll go with whatever the commission decides.
Surely this isn't the first tree we've had taken out downtown. There's got to be a precedent for how these grates
All
work.
the ones on Raw Street by the parking garage used to be maples. I think they planted them 2 or 3 times and they found out they wouldn't grow. So now I think they have annuals in them, don't they, Bert?
They have cabbage palms in some of them now, I think.
Yeah.
I've noticed on Dolphin Street that some of them are annuals.
And
Okay.
on Dolphin, there's also, and on Dolphin, you have some kind of a cypress looking tree too, I think.
That's pond cypress. Yeah.
Yeah, the maples are struggling downtown. They're tapping out one at a time.
Well, we won't go into the reason, but I'll go with what the commission wants to do.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for the staff recommendation, which was a donation of 2 trees to the tree bank, tree removal permit to be issued to a certified arborist, and also all work in the right of way, including tree removal and tree replanting, to be coordinated with urban forestry and the permitting / right of way division. So that is the motion, and that was seconded earlier. Is there any further discussion on that? All right, hearing none, I'm going to ask that we go ahead and vote. If you are in favor of this motion, please make it known by the sign. Aye.
Aye.
All right. All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay. All right, so the ayes have it. The recommendation, as stated, was approved. All right, thank you for that. And we will look now to the permit request. There was another one withdrawn by the applicant prior to this meeting. So we will not cover that one today. We'll go down to our other business, and a couple of things before we get into the urban forestry summary. There's a couple of items here under other business, which we had placed on the agenda back in March or in early March. Of course, that meeting was canceled. And so there's some information here. Item number 2, a reimbursement for a professional development opportunity here in Mobile. That professional development opportunity was canceled. And so that is not an issue that we really need to cover today.
I mean, has it been, it was going to be rescheduled though, right?
I think
Yes.
so. I did email about that. Peter, do you know when it's going to be rescheduled?
Yeah, I talked to the state urban forestry specialist today, and he stated it will be rescheduled to late September, early October. So we'll have, this year, we'll have that seminar and the AUFA conference back to back.
Okay, so that will, in that case, that would mean that the Urban Forestry Conference, I believe, is going to be held in Shelby County somewhere this year.
Yeah.
So this professional development would, in conjunction with that, so it would not be local, but certainly we still would want to encourage our members to attend if possible.
Jesse, there is going to be a series of webinars coming up that will be good for the tree commissioners to attend and watch. It's information that can come in on potential permits and applications and in your committees. So I'll send a PDF to Bert so he can disperse that to you guys, or I can send it directly.
Sure, that'd be great, Peter. Thank you. And we're going to go ahead and turn it over to you for your summary. So
Yes,
Sure.
Excuse me, if I can interrupt. Does the applicant need to stay here or can he leave?
oh, he's free to go, but
Well, I just didn't know if he knew that or not.
we're not trying to run you off, John. If you want to hang around, you can, but you don't have to. So
No,
just
thank you for that, Terry. I do have one quick question, if you guys don't mind. Who should I work with directly at your office to go through this process? Now that it's approved, as far as the getting the permit and making sure it's a certified arborist, do y'all have a list of those people?
Who are
Peter
you speaking to?
Peter has a list of certified arborists, and I would encourage you to work with the urban forester, and I'm sure he can direct you further.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Peter direct if that's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
guys so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
All right, Peter. So take it away with your work summary.
All right, let me get the screen share going. All right, this is our March 2020 summary. Bert has this in digital format. He'll send it to each one of you. But I wanted to point out something to everybody, that our certified arborist subcontractors have been quite busy. Our urban forestry subcontractors and we've been all over the city. This is items that we have looked at, taken care of. And then down here, Joel has been very diligent, much props to him. As you can see, these are either requests that are on private property. Everybody check your email box. You'll be able to see the digital copy of what I'm showing you right here if you have any questions. But on here, as you can see the categories. It's either hazard trees, low limbs, emergencies. And in this, you'll notice a new category. We have a re-inspection schedule that if someone makes a request to remove a tree or to have something done to a tree, and we don't see any need to remove it, they've asked us to re-inspect it in 6 months a year. Joel, how far out have you scheduled some of these re-inspections? 6 months, 3 months? What's your average time on re-inspection?
I've made it on a case-by-case determination, but 6 months would be the furthest out I've made it. Some I've done in 2 or 3 months if I thought there might be a little bit more of an urgency just to make sure the tree was safe kind of thing. But I'd say 6 months at the most.
But as y'all can see, when in a lot of these where you see where it says no issue spotted, that is a site to where there's no work for urban forestry to perform at that location. It's not an interference with public service. There's no emergency there. And each spot that you see where there's no issue spotted, we will always give them a tree commission application and tell them, if you still feel compelled to perform tree care at this site, here's your application, come before the commission. So anytime you see that purple status, that's where they're encouraged to come before you guys if they're still compelled to do work on that tree.
Okay, question. When it says there's no issue spotted, that means that one of your certified arborists have gone out there and there's nothing to be done.
No. Where it says no issue spotted, that is where Joel and I have gone out and it's cut off from there. That's where we, like if someone says this tree's in bad shape, we want it removed, we go out and look at the tree, and if there's no indications of problems or no justification to remove the tree, then we tell them there's no issue spotted, and we press on because it's, as far as urban forestry is concerned, we have no justified work at that location, period. Our subs, they're helping us with our overall workload, but every site that we have goes either Joel or myself go on location and lay hands on it and inspect each tree.
Okay, and I just got the email with this information. Peter, if you can in the future, I know you have in the past, but we would like to get this ahead of time so that we have a chance to look at it before the meeting.
Sure, and even after this meeting, Jesse, if you have a question on this, I apologize. This Corona mess has kind of got me off my game on getting things out on time. We do have 2 new categories on here to show you guys what type of inspections that we're doing. Even though they're not in the right of way, I want you to be privy to them. If you look in the type category in column F, you'll see it says ROW/land disturbance inspection. Those are typical driveway installations. That's where a utility company will be working in the right of way around trees. We have a standard list of conditions that we put out with these permits in which the contractor is to abide by. That's just another category that we want to put out there to make sure that y'all can see it, and if you have any questions about it.
So can I ask a question? So you go out and inspect the site because they've put a permit in and give them these parameters. Do you go back out and make sure that they've followed those parameters at the
Absolutely. That's within the best interest of the city to make sure that typically, Teresa, on a right-of-way permit, the utility company is typically working with us while the permit's going on. They'll say, because one of the conditions that we give them is a chart that's labeled critical root zone. And if every utility company has been specifically instructed that if they get within the critical root zone of the tree, or they see they're getting close to it, they'll call either Joel or myself out for a consultation to figure out exactly within the industry standard how to work around said trees to make sure they're preserved. So that's a key role that we play daily to make sure our urban canopy gets preserved.
Peter, so I ask this question a lot, so forgive me, but
You're
for
a war
example,
eagle, so it's okay.
on these low limb requests,
Yeah.
is it the city's position that any tree that has a low hanging limb is going to be addressed by the city and sent before the tree commission?
Well, if it's an interference with public service, I mean, because a low limb could be 1,000 different things. It's really and truly, Jesse. I mean, if we go out, and Joel will tell you this, a low limb could be over the street, over the sidewalk. It could be a low limb over the house or a low limb over the yard.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go there and there's by mere opinion a low limb in someone's front yard, no, we don't have any justification to cut said low limb. But if that low limb is in the middle of Church Street and a city garbage truck is colliding with it every time they go down the road, that is our justification to trim that limb above
Sure.
the height of that truck. So that's the give and take that you have. Low limb's a very broad category, but it's merely our role in allowing our trucks to go up and down the road.
Right. And I know we've talked in the past about what's an emergency and what's not, because, the city has the, authority to do certain things during an emergency situation or a safety issue. Process for the city to, certify before the tree commission that needed to be done. And that we have bylaws that say, it should be done, come before the tree commission in advance. If you have an example where, for example, a resident had a low hanging limb, or there's a limb hanging over their roof, as there are throughout the city. And so the purpose of my question is because all of these that are marked low limb never came before the tree commission.
Well,
I understand, of course, I understand that there's, as you've noted here, several that say emergency, and some of them say trash/garbage truck obstructed. And I certainly understand, and the city has in the past trimmed those. But just a low hanging limb, I don't know why that wouldn't come before the tree commission.
well, I guess in the bylaws for the tree commission, our classification in urban forestry emergency, we have three different types. One is an entire tree that's fallen in the right of way, one that's a limb that's fallen in the right of way, and one that is a limb that's broken, hanging, and about to fall somebody. It's one that has a limited time frame to respond to. The other classifications that you would call emergency, I mean, a person called us today for a low limb over their roof that is punching a hole in their roof. I mean, it's got to be done.
Sure.
I mean, and that's but to expand on that, if a person has a limb over their roof and it's 4 or 5 foot above the roof, and the wind sail effect of the tree is not going to affect their roof, but they still feel like that needs to be pruned, that low limb, yeah, it needs to come for you guys, because there's no justification from us to touch the tree. In column H, where you see it in purple that says no issues spotted, that's Joel and I jointly deciding that we don't have any justified work at that location, and yes,
Sure.
that should come before the tree commission.
Yeah,
just-
and I'll give you just one more example, and then I'll be quiet. But like, there's a request here that says tree limb low, request to be trimmed. This came in October of 2018. I find it hard to believe that that's an emergency. If it didn't get addressed for a year and a half, that could have easily come to the tree commission. So
There are a lot of things that I wish I could say we could do right when they call if it's a genuine emergency. But there's some emergencies that are higher priority than other emergencies. And unfortunately, up until December of last year, we had 5 people doing the work for the entire city. Now we have 3 subcontractors that we can actually get our work done. It's just when you can't get down a road, you can't get down a sidewalk. Now, I mean, hey, on Church Street, on whatever day they do trash pickup, or even on Old Shell Road where you live, watch the trash truck. They look like a drunk driver going down the road because they're zigging and zagging. And hey, maybe the zigging and zagging of that truck at the time is a low traffic time, but we still got to get it cleared at some point in time.
right, and I see here that you've marked when it was a trash truck issue. I wasn't asking about those. I'm just asking about the things that look on paper pretty routine for the tree commission. So that was the reasoning for my question, not about the trash truck or the emergency situations. It was simply about these things that really look routine. But that's all I've got right now. So if there's any other questions from the tree commissioners.
I mean, I do kind of also have a question about that, because if I understand if a tree is starting to look like it's going to start to maybe give some trouble down the road because it is overgrowing a root. But again, that's not the kind of thing that could not have the applicant come in and we would see it within 30 days. They could have that done, properly permitted ahead of time.
Yeah, but see, Teresa, a lot of people don't want to privately pay for that work to be done, and they're willing to wait until we're able to get around to it.
But then you're kind of circumventing us, right? Because if it's something, if the only difference is with who's going to pay for it, then why? So then that means that the only time the tree commission is actually comes up to actually even have some say so over the work that gets done is if somebody's going to do it privately rather than the city. I mean, it just seems like we ought to be in the loop ahead of time unless it is an emergency, no matter who's doing the work.
Well, based on what Ms. Montero told me from legal, if it's an emergency or if it's an interference with public service, then we can do it. That's what I've been advised by city legal.
A house is not public service, right? A limb coming over the top of a house would not be considered public service.
Well, remember, a limb coming over a roof is threatening a structure. And in December of this past year, we just haven't been able to have enough help to even take a stab at trying to keep up. I mean, Joel can tell you, we get multiple requests every day, all the time.
Right. I mean, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out, how we can actually have an effective oversight, if you will, role in this. I mean, because it sounds like the only time that we actually get to be put in the loop is when it's something that you guys say it doesn't need to be done, and then we're the ones who get to see it then, because now we're like the Board of Appeals almost.
I think we can be on a slippery slope here if every time something comes up, they have to bring it in front of us. I think we need to let urban forestry make those decisions on the ground, and if things need to come in front of us, they know what needs to come.
What would
We're
be
gonna
the
get to the
definition of
point
that?
where we're gonna be sitting here with 400 things every meeting for people, for little things that urban forestry could take care of. You
I
know,
guess I just wonder, what's the definition of that? What is the definition of when urban forestry says it needs to come before us?
there might not be a written one. Maybe we need to get one, but most of it is the experience of the people doing it.
Well, my thoughts on it are, we need to consult city legal, because my role is the urban forester for the city, is to manage risk associated with my city trees. And if a tree is threatening a structure, and response time is another thing. That is something that I've had to deal with internally. That's on my head. But communication, Bert, you chime on this. I mean, do we just need to get legal to define what the roles are? I mean, because I'm not going to speak out of turn for Ricardo.
No, I mean, I think Teresa and Jesse and I are not talking about emergencies or anything. That's obviously something you have to do. Maybe we need a legal decision about what constitutes you doing it instead of bringing it in front of the commission. Not that we don't want to have things come in that we can vote on, but I mean, it can get out of hand.
Sure. And for those that may be watching or listening that aren't familiar, the tree commission is not any uncertainty here. There's a state law about the trees in the right of way that gives the tree commission jurisdiction over the trees in the right of way, period. So the city does have a continuing permit to do certain things, especially in the case of an emergency. But the state law dealing with this, it requires the mayor to certify to the tree commission when a tree has to be removed for efficient service to the public. That's not taking place. The mayor is not certifying that these things need to be done. So I think that's where this gray area has come into play. And I will always question it, because I care about doing a good job, and I'm volunteering for this because I care about the trees. And Terry, you've been on the tree commission a long time. We used to get multiple tree permit requests at every meeting, and these days we're getting almost zero.
Well, I can go ahead and tell you, Jesse, on each location where we have marked it no issue spotted, we tell them, hey, the buck doesn't stop here. If you still want to have some work done, I mean, hey, I'll put it to you this way. We've got a meeting this upcoming Tuesday on the 28th at 1812 Old Shell Road at 1:00. And it is 2 trees in city right of way that they want to remove. And we told them, yeah, we'll come look at them, but it's got to go for the tree commission.
Yeah. Well, I think I've made my point, and I'll let it go. But
can I just ask Peter why he said that those 2 need to come before the tree commission?
Because, Teresa, they're located in city right of way. Joe and I have both looked at them. There are no indications of any type of biological or structural issues. It is not blocking any city vehicles. There's no structures threatened. There's no sidewalks blocked. So we don't have any justification to say, yeah, those trees should come down.
Okay,
So that's
you already looked at them. Oh, okay.
Right.
I thought you had to. You said you were going to look at them, but you've already.
Well, we have looked at them, but they want to get the developer, the builder, and Joe Blow and Blow So and all that out there to hear what we got to say. So that's the type of things. And I mean, it's like right now we've got 60 locations that are on hold that we received in the last couple of days. We haven't had a chance to put eyes on. It's anywhere from removal requests to deadwood to low limbs to all kinds of things. I mean, it's never ending. Bert, we have an iPhone hand raised. I didn't know if you could see that or not, Jesse.
No, I can't. But I appreciate your commentary. Tree commissioners, thank you for your questions. Do we have any more questions about the summary that Peter's provided from the tree commissioners?
Do we need to vote on that, Jesse?
No, that's just a
Okay.
report
No,
from
no
from
question.
Peter.
Yeah, I think the idea was on this was so that this would work as our 30-day notification of what they've had to do. The city's required to let the tree commission know within 30 days of work that they've had to complete. So I think this is our way of getting that notification, is the reason why we had
Yeah.
Peter put it together for us.
Okay, so we've covered that. We've already talked about that professional development opportunity. I still would like for the tree commission to take some action today to authorize any of the tree commissioners who would like to attend that professional development. I mean, if that's the will of the body, I wanted us to talk about that. I know it's in Shelby County, and that probably would prevent me from going, but if
Where is
anyone,
Shelby County?
it's
Where is
Alabaster, right there south of Birmingham.
Okay, yeah, because I had paid to do the other one, and I was just, and I would certainly like to attend the other, but it would have to be where we would get like we did for the Orange Beach.
Yeah, right.
My schedule's pretty flexible, so although without knowing the exact date, I don't know whether I'd still be able to attend or not. I really do
That's
think
my
it's-
challenge. I would need to know, kind of what the dates are, because I'd have to plan pretty far ahead for that.
yeah.
Sure. Well, the question to the tree commissioners would be, do you feel as though we should go ahead and authorize tree commissioners to be reimbursed for this professional development cost, as well as like last year we said that you could get reimbursed for one night stay in the hotel so that you could travel and then stay a night to attend the AUFA conference the next day for the Tree Board Academy. Y'all remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do y'all want to go ahead and do that now, or you just want to talk about this again later, or what?
Well, we could,
I think it's a good idea. Whether we talk about it now or
Okay.
later is fine with me, but
It's
that's good for a reimbursement.
all right,
So
Teresa.
is there any
do you
harm in
have
just going ahead and approving that now?
yeah, let's do that.
Say again?
I'd say, is there any harm then if we're kind of in support of it, of just going ahead and approving it now?
Oh,
Just in
no.
case we don't know
No,
what
there's no
happened.
harm. There's no harm in doing it now.
I would go ahead and make that recommendation then, that they get reimbursed.
I second.
is that a full reimbursement or what?
What did we do? I think it was,
We reimburse the cost of the Professional Development Tree Board Academy, as well as the night stay in the hotel. That's what we did last year. This year, there's going to be that same Tree Board Academy that coincides with the AUFA conference, and there is a Trees and the Law professional development, which Peter told us is now going to be attached to that. So is the motion that you're making, William, to reimburse for those professional development opportunities as well as the one night stay in the hotel?
yeah, I mean, I think, especially if we're only talking probably one or two of us will be able to go up to it. I mean,
Right.
that cost is very easily, we can absorb that. So yes, I would recommend both.
Okay.
So,
All right. So William made the motion and Teresa seconded that. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd just call for the question. All those in favor, please let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. And if you're opposed, please say no. All right, and that, moving right along, final issue here that I wanted us to discuss related to some strategic planning possibilities. I have talked with some of you individually about the possibility of the tree commission participating in a professionally managed strategic planning session where we would come together to discuss, priorities for the tree commission, kind of, chart where we would like to go in the future and how the tree commission should tie in with the city and all of those sorts of questions. Because I don't know if any of you have been involved with other organizations, but strategic planning is something that's very common for organizations to help guide them into the future. And ever since I came on the tree commission, which has been about 4 years ago, and Terry, you've been on here much longer than that. I don't know if we've ever had a real strategic planning opportunity where the tree commission came together to talk about, what we're doing, and what we're able to do in the future. So this was something that I had talked with a couple of you individually about, but I'd be interested to hear you on the record say what you think about this possibility, or if you think it would be helpful to us. I'd really like to know what the other commissioners.
I would like to see what is proposed to be done, because some of those things are nothing but wasting a half a day and getting something to put on your resume. I mean, I'll stay open to it.
Okay.
I sincerely do not know enough about them. I mean, I'd have to get more information and kind of understand what exactly happens at them, and then, what structure we'd follow on that. So I just can't really provide much feedback, I guess.
Okay. Well, I think the idea, William, would be like, for example, our committees aren't really functioning right now. And, we can appoint people to committees, but I don't know if any of us really have been trained or have a real idea about where we want those committees to go in their actions. So I think that sort of strategic planning would be a way for us to have a blueprint of, what we all should be trying to achieve by serving on the tree commission, and, kind of where we want to go as a body. We have funds available that we can be using for the planting of trees and, other things. So I think, William, it's really, at least as I have conceived it in my mind, is a way for us to have a coherent plan about where we're going, and are we always just going to be reacting to things and instead of being proactive, or do we want to be more proactive? And if so, how do we do that? I mean, sort of
This
what.
sounds kind of like, we've been talking for a while about doing whether it's like a Saturday kind of a training / going into, some more of the, some stuff we can't get into a normal meeting, kind of setting up
Right.
some strategic thinking. It sounds like to me, basically, and we've talked about doing that before. And I think from that approach, I think it'd be a good idea to really kind of be able to take more time than we, kind of in the snippets of these meetings, and really kind of set a strategic of, okay, what would we like it to do, and how does that fit in the framework? And, and just kind of go from there. I mean, I would be open to that. Obviously, the type of day and how we'd work in this environment, but we've always talked about that as a possibility.
Right, William. And so the only difference here that we're talking about today would be the possibility of having a professional person that would kind of guide us in that conversation.
Okay, I got it. I understand now. Thank you.
Kind of like a facilitator, because I don't do strategic planning for a job, but I've participated in some in the past, and I found it helpful. If you have the right, agenda and you've got a person there that is competent to help facilitate that discussion, I think it can be helpful. So, but you're right, William, we've talked about that before. Just maybe not using that language of strategic planning. So any other thoughts?
I think it sounds like a great idea. I think it could really, I think the members of the board of the commission really do want to try to be more proactive. And I think this could be a way for us to solidify a constructive way to move forward.
Okay.
I'm inclined to agree with Terry. I think if there's a really compelling case for that kind of thing to be done, then I would be open to it. But I feel like I have a little bit of an inherent skepticism also towards. I don't want to waste my time or anybody else's.
Sure.
Unless we know that it can be a really worthwhile endeavor.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I don't want to waste my time either. I've got a lot of other things that I could be doing with my time. But I would, same time, I do care about the tree commission, and I feel like we've got a lot of room for improvement. And I think that that's obvious, really, for anyone that's focused on this commission for very long. Just in terms of being more proactive. I think that if you read our state code, the tree commission, if you read our own bylaws, there's a lot of things that we should do that we're not doing. And I feel like when you have a big ship that's heading in a certain direction and you want to turn that ship around, you can't do it on a dime, and you really need to know where it is you're trying to go before you start trying to turn that ship in that direction. So I feel like we just need to get a plan or a blueprint or a roadmap, call it whatever you would like, but a place that we're trying to get to as a body in terms of our interactions with the public, what we're doing with our committees, how we're interfacing with our applicants and so forth and so on. I mean, it's just certainly not intended to waste anyone's time. I wouldn't suggest that at all. I've got lots of other things. But one thing I was going to ask was if we do such a thing, we can talk about time. I don't know if there's, like Evan, for example, I don't know if there's certain months where you're just not available to do something like that. I know that you work in an industry where you get really busy at certain times of the year.
Sure.
So is there a time period that any of you think that it might be better for us to pursue something like that?
I feel like it's kind of all up in the air right now. Normally, I would have said that probably really February through April, and then September and October were really busy. But I mean, just like everybody else, that's all shifted right now. So it's hard to say because we ended up not really being busy these last few months, which means at some point coming up we will be. But I don't really know. But under normal circumstances, generally September and October aren't really good times where I'm available for much of anything.
Okay, well, we can just continue to talk about this. I more or less just wanted to introduce this idea to our commissioners, and I know that we've got a lot of new folks on the tree commission, and I think something like this could really benefit them as well, to get familiar and to get oriented to the tree commission. So I feel really optimistic about it, and I appreciate all of the feedback. I understand the skepticism, but trust me, I don't want to be a part of anything that's not productive either, Terry. So I thank you for making that comment. And the final thing we had on our agenda to talk about was process for a request for a proposal. I think this is more of a legal question that I'm not familiar with how you write an RFP or a request for proposals, but what I have read leads me to believe that this would be pursuing a professional service, that we would have to have bids, that we could do a request for proposals and see if we get someone who would be interested in providing that professional service to the tree commission. Again, it's a little bit down the road, so it's not like we're making any decision on this today, but I wanted to see if any of you all had any knowledge of that process when you are contracting for professional service.
There are a lot of people whose business is to make, excuse me, put together a proposal, whether it be an RFP or other stuff. So I mean, there's plenty to choose from, but there are professionals that do that. And, you know, depending on the scope of it, it's really not that expensive
Okay.
to have that done. It's just, they do it for architectural design or site design, engineering design. So, I mean, they're available out there here in town. So
Okay.
wouldn't be any problem finding somebody.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, we can follow up on that. I'll try to follow up on that, Terry, and see, you know, if I can find some concrete information on that. Well, are there any other announcements that anyone has related to the tree commission or anything else?
Not related to the tree commission, but my wife and I are expecting another baby in October. I'll mention that.
Oh, that's good.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Hey, if it's a boy, Terry Charles. If it's a girl, Teresa Charlene.
Done.
Well, congratulations, Evan. That's
Yeah,
great.
that's great.
That's awesome.
It's outstanding, man. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you to Peter and Joel and Bert and all of you guys working at the city during these strange times that we're in. I know that, you know, these are really challenging times in city government, and it looks like, you know, things are going to continue to be challenging for the foreseeable future. So I just want to thank you guys for what you do, and just encourage everybody to please stay safe out there. And I don't really have any other announcements, so I would entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The ayes have it. So we stand adjourned, and thank you again, Peter, for hosting the meeting today, okay?
Y'all be careful.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.